From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday visited fire survivors staying at the Delpan Sports Complex and Delpan Evacuation Center in Barangay 272, San Nicolas, assuring families that government assistance will continue following the massive blaze that displaced thousands over the weekend. Speaking directly to residents, the president said he wanted to personally ensure that all affected families were receiving the support they need. The fire, which erupted on May 24th, affected 2,134 families, many of whom lost their homes and belongings as flames rapidly swept through the community. Despite the devastation, residents expressed gratitude for the president's visit and welcomed his assurance of sustained government support. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, immediately mobilized relief operations, distributing food packs, hygiene kits, sleeping kits, cooking kits, and 10,000 pesos in cash aid per family to help survivors begin rebuilding their lives. The National Housing Authority, or NHA, committed an additional 30,000 pesos per family for the construction of new homes, while the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, or DSUD, pledged to provide construction materials. An extra 5,000 pesos in assistance will also be released through the Office of the President. Authorities continue to assess the full extent of the damage as recovery efforts move forward.
Dumaan lang po ako sandali dito sa inyo upang tiyakin na lahat ng pangangailangan ninyo, lahat ng tulong na ibibigay ng pamahalaan ay natatanggap ninyo dahil po alam naman natin kapag ganyan ang nangyari, nagkasunog at nawalan kayo ng tirahan, dapat talaga ang pamahalaan ang magsasaklolo sa inyo. At kaya po, andito po ang DSWD, andito po ang ating mga iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan. At siyempre, kasama po natin ang ating local government ng City of Manila, lungsod ng Maynila, na sabay-sabay kami na naghahanap ng paraan na magtumulong. Kaya't nandiyan po, galing po sa national government, meron po tayong hygiene kit, meron pa po tayong family cooking kit, meron pa po tayong binibigay na food pack, at bukod pa ron yung 10,000 na assistance para meron po kayong magamit na pera. Ang susunod po, pagkatapos po na makuha po namin lahat ng mga detalye ninyo, ang susunod po, patuloy po, hindi po kami titigil ng pagbigay ng pagkain at lahat ng assistance at lahat itong mga kit na nakikita ninyo. Wala pong tigil yan, ay tuloy-tuloy po namin gagawin yan. At ang susunod ay ang DSUD, yung housing, yung Department of Housing, para mabigyan kayo ng mga building material para makapagpatayo ulit kayo ng inyong magiging tirahan. Kaya sana po ay kahit na medyo mahirap ngayon, asahan po ninyo, hindi po aalis ang pamahalaan, hindi po aalis ang DSWD, hindi po aalis ang lungsod ng Maynila. Andito po si Chorme at hindi po aalis hanggang kayo ay handa nang makauwi ulit at mamuhay ulit ng normal. Nandito lang po kami, asahan po ninyo.
Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday inspected the ongoing rehabilitation of the Sunog Apog pumping station in Manila, a key flood control facility that had remained idle for 6 years despite being inaugurated in 2020. The pumping station is part of the Blumentritt Interceptor System, which serves flood-prone communities in Manila and parts of Quezon City. The president said he wanted to personally confirm that the long-delayed repairs were finally completed. President Marcos noted that the facility never became operational due to design flaws and repeated clogging caused by heavy garbage accumulation. The rehabilitation, which began in November, included the replacement of burned-out electrical components, pipe cleaning, and extensive desiltation inside the station and along the river channel. The chief executive said the improvements were immediately evident during a test run, where just one pump operating at half capacity lowered water levels by about a foot.
Kaya tayo nandito para makita kung talagang naayos na. Dahil mula nung in-inaugurate ito, binuksan ito, noong 2020, ay ni minsan hindi gumana ito. It has never worked at all for 6 years. So, tinrabaho natin ito mula nung November. Sinimula nung November. Ngayon, pwede na pinalitan yung mga electrical equipment, lininis lahat ng mga tubo, nag-desiltation sila doon sa ilog, pati rito sa loob, para naman mabawasan yung basura. Dahil ang nangyari, madalas na mangyari, pag nabara ng basura yung bomba, siyempre may ipit yun, nasusunog yung mga electrical equipment. Kaya pinaltan lahat at inayos na mabuti para naman after 6 years, 2020 ito inaugurate. After 6 years lang, naging maayos ulit. Naging maayos, never naging maayos ngayon. Ngayon lang naging maayos para umandar ulit. Ito, umaandar ito. Sinasabi nila sa akin, pag umandar ito, umaandar 5 minutes. Tapos barado na. Kaya merong counting problema sa pagka-design. Kaya inayos natin lahat. Kaya mabuti na lang dahil ang laki, lalo na itong area na ito sa likod ninyo. Itong area na ito, malalim yan Kaya mabilis mabaha. Ngunit nung inon namin, yung isang bomba, isa pa lang yun di ba? Out of the 3.
50% capacity pa.
At yung isang bomba lang, at pinatakbo namin at 50% capacity, kitang-kita ang laki ng binabana ng tubig. Siguro mga 1 foot, mga 12 inches ang binabana na kagad ng tubig. Wala pa yun, 1 pump at 50%. Kaya kahit malaki ang tubig, malaking maibabawas sa ating mga kababayan na kanilang dating nababahan na lugar.
3 of the station's 4 pumps are now fully functional ahead of the rainy season. The remaining bay continues to support gravity flow operations. Officials were also briefed on the upgraded intake systems, pumping mechanisms, discharge lines, and control systems that now allow the facility to operate reliably. Joining the president during the inspection were Public Works Secretary Vivencio Dizon, Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA Chairman Don Artes, and Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Dumagoso, who had earlier raised concerns about the station's prolonged activity.
Dateline Malacañang.
Defense and security cooperation, maritime issues, energy resilience, and economic priorities are expected to dominate the agenda when Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. meets with Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi in Tokyo this week, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA. DFA spokesperson Annalyn Ratonel said, President Marcos and First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos will depart for Japan on Tuesday for the President's first state visit from the 26th to the 29th of May upon the invitation of the Japanese government. Ratonel emphasized the importance of the trip, noting that it provides an opportunity for the two leaders to advance cooperation in security, maritime and defense, economic development, energy transition, and decarbonization, as well as emerging and future-oriented sectors. She added that the leaders are also expected to exchange views on regional and global developments affecting both countries, including Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN concerns, challenges in the Indo-Pacific, and the situation in the Middle East. President Marcos will hold a summit meeting with Prime Minister Takaichi, where both sides are anticipated to announce new agreements on defense, trade and investment, and human resource development. The President is also scheduled to meet with Japanese business groups and members of the Filipino community. During the state visit, President Marcos and the First Lady will be received by Their Majesties the Emperor and Empress at the Imperial Palace for a welcome ceremony, a state call, and a state banquet. Both couples will also confer and exchange decorations. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the normalization of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Japan.
Bibisita si Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. at First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos sa Japan from 26 to 29 May 2026 sa imbitasyon ng Government of Japan. Napakahalaga po ng biyaheng ito sapagkat ito ang pagkakataon para makapag-usap si Pangulong Marcos Jr. at Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi tungkol sa kooperasyon ng Pilipinas at Japan sa larangan ng seguridad, maritime and defense, ekonomiya, energy resilience and decarbonization, at emerging and future-oriented sectors. Inaasahan rin na mag-uusap ang dalawang leaders tungkol sa mga regional and global issues na nakakaapekto sa Pilipinas at Japan gaya ng ASEAN, challenges sa Indo-Pacific region, at developments in the Middle East. The President and the First Lady will be received by Their Majesties the Emperor and Empress at the Imperial Palace for a welcome ceremony and a state call. Their Majesties will also host a state banquet in honor of the President and the First Lady. During their audience, the first couple and the imperial couple will mutually confer and exchange decorations. The President will also hold a summit meeting with Prime Minister Takaichi, where the two leaders are expected to discuss Philippines-Japan cooperation. Inaasahang mag-aanunsyo ang dalawang bansa ng mga bagong kasunduan sa defense, trade and investment at human resources. Nakaschedule din ng Pangulo to meet with Japanese business groups and members of the Filipino community in Japan. Ito ang kauna-unahang state visit ni President Marcos Jr. sa Japan. The Philippines and Japan are commemorating the 70th anniversary of the normalization of their diplomatic relations this year.
As Department of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Annalyn Ratonel.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has named former Senator Francis Tolentino as acting Secretary of the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE, replacing Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma. The announcement was made by Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro during a briefing at Malacañang. Castro said the president is confident Tolentino can lead the Labor Department, citing his capability and extensive experience in both local and national government. Tolentino took his oath before the president Monday afternoon at Malacañang Palace. According to Castro, the appointment of an acting labor chief was necessary due to Secretary Laguesma's health condition. She added that any possible reassignment for Laguesma would depend on both the president's decision and the secretary's recovery. No further details were provided regarding Laguesma's condition or future role.
Itinalaga ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. bilang Acting Secretary ng Department of Labor and Employment o DOLE si dating Senator Francis Tolentino. Tiwala si Pangulong Marcos Jr. na mapamumunuan ni incoming Acting Secretary Tolentino ang DOLE dahil sa kanyang kakayahan at malawak na karanasan sa paghawak ng mahalagang tungkulin sa pamahalaan lokal o nasyonal. Nakatakdang manumpa bilang bagong kalihim ng DOLE si incoming Acting Secretary Tolentino kay Pangulong Marcos Jr. mamayang hapon dito sa Malacañang.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Moving on, Malacañang on Monday rejected allegations by Davao City Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte that an undeclared martial law exists under the Marcos Jr. administration, insisting that civil liberties and press freedom remain fully intact. At a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Press Officer Claire Castro defended the administration's human rights record, pointing to the media's continued ability to report freely. Castro was responding to Duterte's weekend remarks, accusing the national government of clamping down on dissent and political opposition. She countered by recalling criticisms raised during the previous administration.
Kayo po ang makakaramdam. Kayo ng mga taga-media, kung meron po ba mga implied marcha na nagaganap. Ang pagbibigay ng kalayaan at hindi pagsawata at hindi pagkitil sa mga taga-media at iba nating mga kababayan ng kanilang karapatan, lalong-lalo na itong freedom of the press and freedom of expression. Hindi po ito sinasawata ng Pangulo. Mas naramdaman ito sa panahon ni dating Pangulong Duterte. Marami ang mga taga-media na tumutol sa ginagawang pagkitil ng freedom of the press and freedom of expression sa panahon ni dating Pangulong Duterte.
Castro also dismissed as false the claim of Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Pulong Duterte that the city received zero budget from the national government over the past 4 years. Citing official Department of Budget and Management or DBM records, she said Davao City received 7.856 billion pesos in national government support from 2023 to 2026, including tax allotments, special shares, fire code fees, and regular operating requirements. She added that 7.44 billion of the total flowed through national government agencies for key infrastructure and social service projects. Another 146.21 million pesos came from the local government support fund programs, including financial assistance to local government units or LGUs, the Barangay Development Program, and the Green 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 Initiative.
Kasinungalingan po ang sinasabing zero budget ang Davao City for the past 4 years. Ito po ang statement ng DBM. Representative Paulo Duterte's claim that Davao City has zero budget for the past 4 years is not supported by the national government's released data. According to records for fiscal year 2023 to 2026, as of May 17, Davao City received at least 7.856 billion pesos in national government support for programs and projects. This includes national tax allotment. It will also include special shares, fire code fees, and regular operating requirements. 7.440 billion pesos came from identified NGA programs and projects, including farm-to-market roads, health facilities, justice and civil defense facilities, PRC infrastructure, DPWH infrastructure programs, basic education facilities, the DSWD 11 Learning Institute, and the Davao Public Transport Modernization Project. An additional 146.21 million pesos came from LGSF project type support, including financial assistance to LGUs, the Barangay Development Program, and the Green Program. So hindi po totoo na walang budget or zero budget ang Davao City. Ang Davao City po ay isa sa mga syudad at isa sa mga area na talaga pong inaalagaan ng ng administrasyon at ng Pangulong Marcos Jr.
Responded to the mayor's claim that scrutiny over Davao City's flood control spending is politically motivated. She stressed that the Marcos Jr. administration continues to prioritize development in Davao City, contrary to accusations of political targeting.
Totoo, sabi po niya, di ba, umamin naman po siya na nagkaroon ng 51 billion pesos na inilaan para sa Davao City, para sa flood control projects. Pero ba't nga ba bumabaha pa rin sa Davao City?
Was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Malacañang pushed back against Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte, questioning why large volumes of illegal drugs continue to surface in Davao City, even as the mayor accuses the Marcos Jr. administration of allowing narcotics and criminality to resurge. At a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Press Officer Claire Castro cited a major drug bust earlier this month to challenge the Duterte camp's long-standing claims about the effectiveness of their anti-drug campaign. She argued that the continued presence of large-scale drug operations in the mayor's own jurisdiction raises questions about the legacy of the previous administration's enforcement strategy. Malacañang's remark followed Mayor Duterte's speech at a weekend Rage Coalition rally where he accused President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. of failing to deliver governance achievements and allegedly allowing corruption and illegal drugs to return unchecked.
Kaya nga po masugid ang ating gobyerno na pagsawata ng mga illegal na droga. Kaya nga nagtataka po tayo, bakit po kaya napakadaming droga, illegal drugs na nahuhuli sa Davao City? Ito po, katulad po nito. Noong May 14, 2026, meron pong nahuli na sabat na halagang 15.6 million shabu mismo sa Davao City operation. Hindi po ba sakop niya ito? Kaya nga po, bakit sa Davao City ay may nahuhuli kung naging epektibo po yung sinasabi nilang war on drugs? Sa ngayon po, wala po tayong EJK pero marami pong nasasabat ang ating mga law enforcers para po masawata ang illegal na droga.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Marcos Jr. administration is rolling out a major climate resilience and infrastructure package for the Davao region as agricultural communities continue to suffer heavy losses from extreme moisture stress. At a palace briefing Monday, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Press Officer Claire Castro said, the government is mobilizing both immediate mitigation measures and long-term funding under the proposed 2026 General Appropriations Act to stabilize food production in Region 11. The Department of Agriculture or DA earlier reported 117 million pesos in agricultural losses from January to March, with an additional 783 million pesos in damage from April still under validation. Castro said the administration is prioritizing climate-resilient rural infrastructure through the Build Better More program. She added that 6 localized projects amounting to 310 million pesos have completed detailed engineering designs and program of works requirements and are awaiting the release of Special Allotment Release Orders or SARO from the Department of Budget and Management or DBM. To cushion the impact of the prolonged dry spell, Castro said, the DA has activated a 5-point mitigation strategy focused on resource management, crop adaptation, and climate-responsive coordination. Castro reaffirmed that the national government is prioritizing the rehabilitation of the region's hardest-hit agricultural zones, emphasizing that support for Davao's farming and fisheries sector remain a top concern.
Binigyan po natin ng tuon ang issue na to sa Davao region. So, minabuti rin po natin na makausap mismo ang namumuno sa DA. Ang sabi po dito, under the proposed GAAP 2026, the national government is funding climate resilient rural infrastructure through the Build Better More program. In Region 11, 48 farm to market road projects have been allocated a total of 1.495 billion pesos. Of this, 6 projects worth 310 million pesos have already completed their detailed engineering design and program works requirements and are awaiting SARO release from DBM. So the remaining projects are still completing documentary requirements before funding can be processed. Mahalaga po kasi ang mga dokumento para hindi po mapunta ang pondo kung saan-saan lamang. And to mitigate the impacts regarding the agricultural moisture stress on rural communities, ito po ang kanilang mga measures na gagawin. First, coordinating climate response programs with regional offices, attached agencies, and the NDRRMC. 2. Disseminating information campaigns on El Nino preparedness. 3. Prepositioning seeds, fertilizers, and farm inputs. 4. Promoting crop shifting and drought-tolerant crop varieties. And 5. Providing planting materials, soil, ameliorants, pesticides, and biologics. Okay? So, ilan lamang po ito sa mga gagawin po ng DA para tulong sa ating mga magsasaka and at the same time sa mga fisher folk.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang reaffirmed its commitment to the rule of law and due process as the country prepares for major legal proceedings involving top political figures, including the Senate impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte and potential new international arrest warrants. At a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Press Officer Claire Castro stressed that the executive branch will not interfere in the Senate's impeachment trial, which begins July 6th. Asked whether the administration would support broader investigations if new evidence emerges, Castro said President Marcos will not tolerate corruption and expressed hope that anti-corruption efforts continue beyond the current administration.
Ang Malacañang, ang palasyo at ang Pangulo ay hindi po magbibigay na anumang prejudgment. Ang mga ebidensya ay dapat na maisiwalat ng buo kapag ka nagkaroon na po ng impeachment trial. At tao na po ang maghuhusga, maliban po of course sa mga senator judges. Sila na po ang maghuhusga kung ano po ang nilalaman ng mga ebidensya at kung dapat bang managot ang isang vice-presidente sa mga akusasyong ibinabato sa kanya. Isa sa itinataguyod ng administrasyon na ito ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ay managot ang dapat na managot. Hindi po tutulugan kung may mga nangyari na pagtulog sa pagpapanagot ng mga sangkot sa mga nakaraang administrasyon. Hindi po yan ang gagawin ng administrasyon na ito. Sinimulan niya pong magpaimbestiga ng tungkol sa korupsyon. Dapat po ay magtuloy-tuloy po ito. Kahit na matapos ang kanyang termino, sana magtuloy-tuloy at yung dapat na managot ay hindi mapakawalan.
Reports from the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI indicating that the International Criminal Court or ICC may soon issue additional warrants related to the previous administration's drug war. She declined to give a categorical answer when asked how the executive would respond if a sitting lawmaker, such as Senator Christopher Bongo, becomes the subject of an ICC warrant, or whether law enforcement would defer to Senate protective custody as it did in the case of Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. Pressed on how future arrest operations inside legislative premises would be handled, Castro said authorities will follow Department of Justice guidance and ensure no rules are violated.
Ang pagsasabi po na maaari magkaroon pa ng pag-issue ng warrants of arrest ay expected ito dahil marami pa pang co-perpetrators. Pero sa ngayon ay wala pong naibibigay na anumang impormasyon kung may paparating. Kung anuman ang stance ng gobyerno sa ngayon, ganun pa rin po ang ipapatupad. Sa ngayon hindi po natin masasagot, we do not want to speculate on that matter. Kapag lumabas na po siguro ang warrant of arrest kay Senator Bongo. Actually, hindi naman siya magulo kung walang nagpagulo. Well, anyway, kung ano po ang mandato ng DOJ, at nang naaayon sa batas, yun lamang po at walang iba-violate na rules ang ating gobyerno.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police or PNP says it remains on heightened alert and in full coordination with law enforcement partners amid reports that the International Criminal Court or ICC may soon issue additional arrest warrants linked to the previous administration's drug war. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said the police force continues to anchor all actions on due process and established legal protocols. The assurance comes as the PNP works closely with the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI and other agencies in anticipation of possible legal developments that may require joint operations. The Department of Justice or DOJ earlier directed both the PNP and NBI to enforce the ICC arrest warrant against Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa after the Supreme Court denied his request for a temporary restraining order. The ICC has charged de la Rosa with crimes against humanity in connection with a deadly anti-drug campaign that left thousands of suspects, including minors, dead. Malacañang, through Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro, has said the palace wants any forthcoming ICC warrants enforced as soon as possible. Nartates emphasized that the PNP will act only on orders issued by proper authorities and will ensure that all procedures strictly follow existing rules and protocols.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Government Service Insurance System, or GSIS, is welcoming former Budget Acting Secretary Rolando Toledo to its Board of Trustees, citing his decades-long experience in fiscal management, governance, and public sector reform. GSIS President and General Manager Vic Veloso said, Toledo's entry comes at a pivotal time as the pension fund accelerates digitalization, strengthens internal controls, and expands services for government workers, retirees, and pensioners. Toledo served nearly 40 years in government across multiple administrations, taking on key roles in fiscal policy, planning and budgeting, organizational management, and efficiency programs. He is a certified public accountant with graduate studies in development economics from the UP School of Economics and a master's degree in national security administration from the National Defense College of the Philippines. GSIS said Toledo's expertise in governance and fiscal management will help reinforce the institution's mandate to protect the welfare of its members and pensioners. The pension fund also expressed gratitude to outgoing trustee Beatriz Torno for her years of service and contributions to education and public administration. Torno, a career educator, previously served in key posts at the Department of Education, including as Regional Director for Central Luzon before retiring in 2019. GSIS said she brought valuable insight to board deliberations, particularly on issues affecting pensioners, government employees, and institutional inclusivity.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.